No Ideas Original.
Welcome to the No Ideas Original Podcast featuring Shannon, Mr. Rob, and Ken. Today we have very special guests in the house. We have the Untouchable DJs. I'm gonna allow you brothers to introduce yourself, but first I want to start off by saying thank you. I appreciate your contribution to our first project, the curation. I appreciate the conversation, Bpzy, we had where you was giving us like dropping little nuggets and jewels and knowledge on us. Executive Decision is now in stores. I'm gonna let you brothers introduce yourself and then we'll get into the conversation.
Yo, DJ MrFx, the Untouchables DJs,
What's going on? It's your boy Baby Paul, aka Bpzy, representing Untouchable DJs with my boy DJ MrFx. Queens representation all motherfucking day.
Queens. Bronx, Bronx and Queens is forever linked. Bronx and Queens will forever be linked. And whatever way you imagine.
That's true.
Yo, so we got a lot of shit to cover in this interview. Not just talking about Executive Decision, but even behind the scenes just now, he's having like a really dope hip-hop conversation. So I want to pick you brothers' brains and talk about hip-hop, talk about the business element, talk about your mixtape, talk about all things hip-hop. So I was thinking the best way to probably start this off is to in the spirit of mixtapes, tell me about the first time you realized the impact that a mixtape actually has. It could be the first mixtape you heard, it could be the first mixtape that really stuck with you, but when was the first time that you actually heard a mixtape and was like, yo, this is it? And what mixtape was that?
Go ahead, Effects.
Go ahead, man.
All right, well, for me, earlier in my career, shout out to Clue and Duro. Duro is a well-known engineer / producer who's part of Desert Storm. He was DJ Clue's partner. So earlier in Clue's mixtape career, he actually had leaks of some of my records on his tapes in the street. Oh, wow. Records I produced for like Helter Skelter and Duck Down Records. And the reason for this is because Duro was my engineer and Clue's partner. So I had to put two and two together when I'm hearing my records on the street. And I'm like, yo, how did he get this record? Then I'm like, oh, shit. Duro's my engineer. You know what I'm saying?
Now it makes sense.
Effects can attest to the fact that DJs competed in those times, in the early times of the mixtape era. Like, we're talking like mid-90s, going into the 2000s, of trying to be the leaders of the exclusives, the first one to get their hands on music fresh out the studio. So I can say, for me, excuse me, y'all, still recovering from being a little sick. For me, the impact of mixtapes was dope because it allowed me to see firsthand the reaction of my records when these DJs got their hands on it. For example, rest in peace, DJ K. Slade. He was the first DJ to play Destroy and Rebuild from Nas album after I did it in the studio. You know what I'm saying? And I saw the impact of that record. So for me, I like the fact that mixtapes are still an ear to the street.
Right.
Nice.
I was behind stuff too.
Yeah,
Right.
FX.
I'm going to tell you like this, and I'm glad I'm right here. This is the ADAP right here. So my experience on what I would like, the impact of it, you got to understand. So shout out to Cut Master C, shout out to DJ Clue, DJ Envy,
Queen shit.
Grandmaster Vic, Grandmaster Vic, and things like that. So basically, I used to do a lot of distro. Oh, I can't forget DJ Dirty Harry. That is my guy right there. So basically, the first time that I saw the whole impact is when Dirty Harry and Master C, when I linked them two together, they did a double cassette, and one cassette was Dirty Harry and the other one was Master C. So when we went to collect, now the crazy part about it is when I start seeing people copping whips, copping Benzes the same year, that's when I was like, okay, something. And then when he mentioned K Slay, R.I.P. to K Slay, it was like my introduction to K Slay was a little bit different than everybody else because, when we used to get our CDs duplicated, depending on which borough, everybody had dupe machines. The copy, K Slade was one of those people. So, he could print you up 1,000 CDs and he will make you a box. A lot of people didn't know that. And he also copied a lot of people's CDs. And he was, if you wasn't there, he was getting, he was doing his one too. So it so happened that me, Dirty Harry's brother, we was at a famous spot in the Bronx on Fordham.
Okay.
Music Factory.
It was like it was an electronic store.
Probably Music Factory at Beach Street was up there.
Yeah. I remember
Beach Street.
Yeah.
So it was kind of crazy. So in the back, he had boxes and boxes of CDs and things like that. So the first thing he said to us, I ain't know Queens niggas come uptown and things like that. So it was kind of slick. It was kind of slickery. So it was a little intense the first time we met. Now I'm just gonna put it like that. All others, big shout out to K Slay.
Yeah,
shout out to
K Slay.
Yes, sir, man. I still love what he's doing for the culture. People still are reveling over his videos where he has like 1,000 MCs on it. Man. He just had another video, I think, for another one of his records.
Yeah. Yo, I thought y'all was gonna go even further back because even I remember like being young and hearing like my first Kid Capri mixtape or being like OJ and looking and being like, yo, what is that?
Okay. I got a good story for that one too. This is that Kid Capri used to DJ at the world famous SNS Club. That's where like a lot of OG gangsters and
all everybody was in there. Man.
Yeah. See, and me, I'm younger than them, so shit. I wasn't supposed to be knowing about that. So it was one of those things where just being in the mix, and Kid Capri did it for me. Hearing like the energy of it, like he actually brought what he was doing there and transpired it on tape.
Right.
Yeah. So
kid, and my kid story was that my first tape was an R&B joint. It wasn't even no hip hop. The way he controlled the turntables and played the music, it made you go look through your mom's crates like, damn, she got that? I need to go play that right now. But Kid along with Star Child, Brucey B, those were the first tapes.
Star Child. Yeah. I remember Star Child coming to Queens at the world famous Encore. This is a club in Queens across the street from the bus terminal, and this is a library. And this is where Video Uncle Ralph, used to be a DJ before he did Video Music Box. So he used to actually play there. So Grandmaster Vic, Star Child, they used to always, get busy there. He used to come to Queens, and he used to also come to Jamaica roller skating ring. A lot of people don't know about that. Jamaica Avenue had a roller skating ring on Scarborough and Jamaica Avenue. It used to be New York Boulevard. Right there on the corner, and around the corner was Margarita Pizza. So,
just remember that.
Yeah, bro.
Yo, Peace,
infamous landmarks.
How many joints on this project were you affiliated with? Did you do a lot of? I mean, I know the ones you did.
Yeah. I did more than 6 records on there. I produced some of the new artists as well as all of the veteran artists you hear on there. Like I did a remix for a project I'm actually doing with Royal Flush, Queens Legend. Shout to Royal Flush, get well
All
soon.
right. Get well soon, Royal
You know
Flush.
what I'm saying? We're doing a remix project of songs from his first album, Ghetto Millionaire. So me and MrFx decided to leak one of those songs. It was a song called What a Shame featuring Nori.
Yeah, I like that.
And then I produced a song with an artist that I think y'all have interviewed before, Dre Banks out of Michigan, featuring AC.
Yeah. Right.
And then there's a couple of new artists, Solly Big, who I think y'all know.
Yeah.
I featured him on the mixtape, and I produced the record Cakewalk, as well as a couple of songs by an artist named Nova Rebel out of Cleveland, Ohio. He happens to be signed to Crazy Bone of Bone Thugs and Harmonies independent label, coming out of Ohio, and I did a couple of records. One of them is a song that MrFx pulled out the crate called The Making that I did years ago, but we just
I like that record.
Yeah.
It's like Nova telling my career story in third person leading up to around 2010.
Yeah. I like. I actually had a question about that. That record. I'm gonna ask you that about that a little bit later. Yeah, Ken.
So when you go into making the process or something, like you've been producing, what's your first love? Is it producing or DJing? And MrFx, I know you do the DJing, you on the radio personality, or are you outside? What's your favorite? What are you guys' favorite things to do about this music?
I love producing first, but I love the art of DJing because I started out with the B minors into the DJing, and I put it on a hiatus to focus on my producing career. And salute to MrFx. He was the one who told me, you know what? I seen you DJ. You need to start DJing more. A couple years ago, he put it in my head a couple times to really get back to DJing, and I felt like me doing that, it actually trained my ear all over again. Nice. Like being able to dig in the crates, listen to break beats, listen to music of all genres, and then of course, when Serato Stems was launched, it was like, oh my God, that's a rap. It just gave me a whole new ear to listen to records I already had or knew, and find new ways to like create music ideas off of that. You know what I mean? I did a remix of Only Love of one of her records that I produced, and I took a Super Cat record and I just broke it down through the stems and actually recreated the beat. You know what I mean? Off of the classic reggae joint, Ghetto Red Hot.
So let me ask you, Bpzy, I don't mean to cut you off. So the Serato actually strips the entire sound, takes each instrument as a stem.
Correct. Now, mind you, Serato Stems was not the first software to be able to have that ability. It just wasn't popularized in comparison to now that Serato partnered with Pioneer, and they created the Stems feature for DJs to access it through Serato, which is a software that most DJs use, a digital software that DJs use to play music. So now it separates it in 4 ways: vocals, music, bass lines, and drums.
Okay.
So the quality, it depends on how well the recording you're actually using is, and then it'll play a part in how well the stems separation will sound.
Right.
Music, the vocals, the drums, the bass. But I found that a lot of vintage records that I wasn't able to tap into before because of ideas I had, and it might have had certain instruments on top of it or vocals on top of it that didn't have a separation, and where I didn't use it, I can go back to now. Anything from James Brown records to R&B records.
Just about to ask you that. Like, you go back
to Yeah. And trust me, I'm sure I'm not the only producer doing it. I'm sure there's a lot of producers who have trained ears that are aware of stems software and are going back to the records that they have in their crates and approaching it in a new way,
Shout out to
Buck Wild, Lord Finesse, a bunch of people that's out doing their thing. So
I'm gonna tell you right now, shout out to my guy, Jesse West.
Jesse West.
I got a Jesse West story.
Yeah,
I don't mean to digress, but I got Jesse West story. I remember in the summertime, I went to a camp in Utica. I was living in Utica. And they asked us to put our names. We black kids, we ain't putting our real names. I was such a Jesse West fan. That's exactly what I wrote on the
It's funny.
So
Jesse West was the first producer with the name West. You know what I'm saying?
Yo,
Yeah.
and speaking of mixtape, it was a Kid Capri mixtape that he used to rock all of Jesse West had so much stuff, bro.
Yeah.
So
Before the third eye, or the third was the third eye and all that.
third eye, yeah.
Yeah.
So reason why I brought his name up because when he was mentioning the stems, the software, he was one of the first ones that started doing recreations of certain songs, and the likes of Kid Capri, DJ Jazzy Jeff, Lord Finesse, like the major elites would get these edits, would get these super edits. Shout out to DJ Ed Swift and things like that. So basically, what they was getting broken down versions of certain songs, like any record. So what West started doing, he started making curated, produced joints where he would take out certain parts of the of the song, but then he would do his own little flips in it too. So only certain DJs used to have them. So just to give you a little thing on why the stems became so important. So I guess when Serato saw that, they was like, yo, because they was actually late for the party for like a good 7 or 8 years.
Bro, I had a TDK tape of Jesse West. I don't know what happened. And it had eight. I think one song I remember was Renegade, I think.
How did mixtapes go about evolving from a hindrance to artists to becoming an asset for artists? And I say that because I think about back in the days, I remember hearing the stories about, like, I think Naughty by Nature or Onyx running down on SNS, something like that, for leaking and playing all the records. But it seemed like after a while, it kind of became a thing to like leak your record to get the buzz around it. And I think labels embraced it also. But what led to that transformation to go from, yo, we want to destroy the dude who put out the new record, to now we want to get our record to the dude who puts out the records?
That's kind of crazy.
That's a good question. You want to answer the fact?
The Africans.
One word, right?
Because I'm gonna tell you like this, right? So the Africans was the first wave of getting your music heard from here to there. First it was the Chinese, but when the Africans took it over, took that whole process over, because when the Chinese had it, they was just straight bootlegging.
Right? They know where they got it from.
So it continued with bootlegging because, everybody heard the infamous story of the African that leaked Ready to Die and Puffy was chasing them and things like that. listen, the African that chased them, he married an Asian girl and he was in Harlem and he knew him. So that story was kind of like watered down a little bit because everybody went to that African to get your CD pressed up. In fact, I even introduced him to Bpzy. I was just like, yeah, this is the one that But anyway, so it's the fact that the networking community, where it's like your CDs could be heard from here to there, and you could also make money. Shout out to Mustafa. Mustafa was one of your earliest contributors to the mixtape ever. He had a CD spot on Jamaica Avenue, but he also had a spot in Brooklyn, the Bronx, Harlem.
Yeah, money.
Yeah. So after he collected his money, then he moved down to Miami, Georgia. So he was also kind of like on the low, kind of responsible for DJ Drama and that and building up that. So
I feel like the artist-driven mixtapes was, in my opinion, revolutionized by 50 Cent.
I agree.
When 50 Cent is the future, took off to the point where he was getting courted by record labels to get signed and all that, and it was like an album, you know, because remember, Power of a Dollar was the album on Columbia when after his you know, he got shot and he was recovering and, you know, like laying low. He had songs from Power of a Dollar on that 50 Cent is a Future along with new stuff. And Wankster took off before he got picked up. And on that 50 Cent is a Future. And I feel like 50, honestly, to me, spearheaded the artist-driven mixtapes.
Yeah. Well, he kind of cheated the game because that one he was talking about, 50 Cent is the Future, that was actually on Land Speed.
Yeah. So it was released like an album, but it was independent.
Yeah. So what he was doing, it's no different from what we doing, you know, fast forwarding now with, you know, Executive Decision like that. Yeah.
But let me ask you this, Paul, as a producer, have you ever encountered this situation? Because I did hear like a lot of this was going on. So let's say, you know, an artist is putting together their project and they have songs that they're not going to use for their project, and then those songs magically appear in a mixtape that they use for promotional purposes, and then they're reluctant to pay the producer, or the producer doesn't get the full amount as a result of it not actually being released on the project. Like, how do you handle that as a producer?
Yeah, it's tricky because I have to, like, if it's a situation where I did the record before the decision was made to be released on a mixtape, and it was intended to be distributed on a major, and I worked out negotiations to share the composition rights, the credits, and be paid in advance. When they switch gears and treat it as a promotional tool, it could benefit me in the fact that people are hearing and seeing it and getting the credit for it, but I'm losing money. So yeah, you're right. You know, I feel like it's the catch-22. You got to get in where you fit in, you know? What I like about the project we're doing now, we're actually controlling the narrative. We own the masters. And it's all original music that we're putting in DSP so we can monetize the release. You know? Going back to what I liked about artist-driven mixtapes, I feel like Fabulous is another example of amazing mixtape albums. Like his Soul Tape series and his Time Shootout series.
Better than his
some of the best bodies of work he put out his entire career.
I agree.
But because, you know, even if they were somewhat marketed by Def Jam and treated as mixtape albums, they were like artist albums. And I guess he did it with the freedom of not worrying about sample clearances or anything, because it was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just going to do me. I'm going to put it out. And if it sticks, it sticks. I'll deal with it later, you know?
See, I feel a little bit differently. A little bit, because like 50 Cent's the Future. Who was the DJ that hosted that?
Who Kid, right? Was Who Kid?
No.
Was it?
He started hosting. It's you didn't really hear.
I think Who Kid came after. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That came after. Not until when Who Kid started, when you saw the Who Kid mixtapes and things like that, and then it was like Who Kid and G Unit. But the artist-driven mixtape, they knew the power. They knew the power of it, and they knew the popularity of it. So I always hated those mixtapes because there was no DJ that actually hosted. There was no DJ that did transition from one song to the next. So I always had a problem with that. Even from that point. So when Bpzy was like, you know, yo, we about to do this mixtape and things like that, and I'm like, bro, that's not a mixtape.
You could tell you DJ to the core. He said transitions.
He wanted to transition.
It's not a mixtape.
You know who had a really good artist-driven mixtape series too? Saigon. I feel like Saigon had some good stuff with K Slay.
See?
Yeah.
Once you know, like for instance, like the Dipset mixtape, right? Right away, you're going to say K Slay.
Yeah.
Saigon, K Slay, right? So those are mixtapes. Like the Gangster Grills, you already know that's DJ things like that. But everybody else that came after, like Chance the Rapper, who hosted that?
I got what you're saying.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So artists started doing little cheat codes and started saying, well, this is a mixtape because this is unreleased music or music that they're not using off of their album. Call it a mixtape, and
Throw
that's
it out.
Yeah.
And it lowers, let's be honest, it lowers the expectation around the music too.
I think one of the people that we forgetting that maybe capitalized the most on this recently is Meek Mill. That Dream Chaser series, Dream
Yeah.
Chasers.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was drama, right? Wasn't
Yeah,
that?
That was DJ Drama.
Yeah.
his
Yeah,
biggest
I
records
think it
came
was
from
drama.
those. Yeah, his biggest record came from those Dream Chasers.
Yeah.
Is your goal, is the two of y'all goal the same as, I hate to say like K Slade, but y'all trying to host a series of mixtapes with people like, yeah, I'm going to get that executive decision joint because they dropping them artists like that. And who on this mixtape do you guys think stand out the most?
Interestingly enough, I was getting good feedback on more of the unknown artist records, like even the R&B artist Michaela or her song "Simple."
Simple, yeah, I like that.
Yo,
Yeah,
Peasy.
I like his answer.
I'm sorry to cut you off for a second, but I gotta say this. Yada hit me up earlier. He was like, yo, I listened to Executive Decision. And he was like, yo, a lot of the people that's the unknowns are the ones that really stand out for me.
right.
The same thing you said is literally what he just said.
Yeah.
And then there's another song called "Pray" by Merck.
Yeah.
I got that on the
That
list.
record is fire. That record is fire. You
It
know,
sound like you reading off my list on this paper here.
It's
So,
crazy because
I like that fact that we are curators of great, meaning that we're allowing artists to be discovered because y'all listening to Executive Decision and you discovering these artists, you're going to actually look out for their music when you hear them come out with something different,
Right.
Exactly.
whether we're involved or not. So if that becomes the case, our job is done in terms of the introduction.
Facts.
Yeah. Now it's kind of hard for me because it took me back to actual mixtapes mode. So for me, when I used to drop a mixtape, I used to be like, okay, I drop this on to the next. So I never really lived with a mixtape to tell you this song, this song, this song, this song. I'm already gearing up
To the next one.
for the next project. But I like Cakewalk. I like I like the Praise joint. I like Nova the Rebel.
Nova the Rebel.
Yeah. Another joint I like Dre Banks featuring this guy right there.
Yeah, that was my MC debut on the song "No Love Lost." A lot of people know that beat though.
Yo. But yo, FX, just to go back to what you were saying, like from the mixtape perspective of like, yo, gearing up for the next one, music is kind of like that now. Like music has become very disposable with people off to the next one really, really quick. Which makes me think about like the next question that I have, like, what are your thoughts on, you hear a lot now what people talk about like artists having all this music like in their hard drive that never see the light of day. Like I think Cam was saying something about Jewels. He was like, yo, Jewels got like 300 records. I know they were saying something about Busta having a crazy hard drive full of records. And I don't know if it's Nas has inspired people to start releasing and putting out these records as a result of Nas' work ethic now, but I'm hearing a lot of people like that were probably like our artists from the 90s now starting to come forward and release some of this music that they had stored. So what do you think about artists that have these hard drives full of records that never see the light of day?
I'm trying to. You want me to keep it real?
You trying to
Please do.
Always.
All right. So this is exclusively on No Idea. Check this out. I'm trying to get a young cat that I'm trying to get one of the so we can go in because I used to have a for what was that? Pro Tools. If you had Pro Tools 9 and 10 back then, 2009.
You shifted.
I was getting. All I had to do was just. All we had to do was just get things like that. Yeah. I used to listen. I used to
don't incriminate yourself on
the leaders of the exclusives. We used to drop every week on the button.
Yeah.
You'd be like, yo, the artist be like, yo, damn, like ain't nobody hear that but me and my lady in the car.
Yeah, neighbors mixtape series. I got those hard drives.
So I'm just trying to figure out, like, I got a little intel on some things.
Yo, why are people reluctant to put it out though? What do you think that the critique or like what's the hesitance?
I think
because of the state of
probably just like producers got a shitload of fucking music sitting around, just waiting for somebody to call it. And I think MCs and artists are like, I'm gonna do the same thing producers do.
Yeah, you gotta remember these artists.
I have a catalog sitting out. That's how FX was able to get me on this tape. Like he literally just pulled stuff out the stash from me. But
I got stuff from 2008. Bpzy don't even realize that. I put that out now. It was still rock. I think with some of these artists, to get back to what your point is, a lot of these artists is used to doing first week maybe 350, right?
Mm-hmm.
Used to doing a real good artist would do 475. So they used to those type of numbers.
Yeah.
They don't know how to like I told BP that I'm 2 Chainz the album that he like, I'm giving it like 60,000 top minimum first week. That's it. Only thing that saved
I would agree with him only because the people's expectations of a 2 Chainz Lil Wayne project are not as high.
Yeah.
No matter how talented they are.
Right.
So even if I say I like the music, the fan base to go buy it and consume it on that level is not as high as for example, regardless of what we think of Nicki's music, her rollout and her demand is way higher.
Oh
yeah.
They missed the boat. They were supposed to do that on Duffel Bag Boy.
Duffel Bag Boys.
They were supposed to do that when Lil Wayne and Jewels were supposed to do I Can't
Feel My Face.
Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He had a couple collab albums he dropped the ball on. He was supposed to do that. He was supposed to do something with T-Wayne album or something.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think
timing-wise, I could agree with FX. I don't know if the timing was the greatest for them to put out an album, but I'm not mad at what I heard, Looking at what's out in the market right now, from the younger generations to the legends, like Busta put out a pretty decent album.
Yeah, he did.
It grew on me. I didn't like it at first, but it grew on me.
Yeah. It's okay. I listen to it. It's all right.
Remember, you're getting opinions from a person that when they first heard Death of the Auto-Tune, he didn't see the vision. That person right there. Yeah, I got it right there.
Oh, you didn't see that?
He did not see the vision at all. The very first time I heard that 30 seconds of it, I was like, oh, this is go. He was like, yo, I don't feel it. I don't. So
Yeah, Kim, what you was gonna say?
I think that the younger cats, what they understand more probably than a lot of the legends is that those numbers, like what you're talking about, the 350,000 and the 60,000, for them to make money, it doesn't mean as much anymore. So years ago, that 350,000 count when you're trying to get people to go pick up a physical article, go walk out their house, go to a store or something. 60,000 now, they hoping that you got 60,000 ears and I could just go perform for a ridiculous amount. So they don't even really care about those numbers.
Yeah, because didn't 50 say that Meek and Ross's album did like 30,000 or something first?
Yeah.
He started killing them online.
Honestly, that was like one of the questions that I had that I was going to ask you about, because how many streams that probably was that translates into that amount of physical copies? Like, you think about it, Duke could stream 1 million times, and what does 1 million streams equate to? 20,000 units, or something like that.
Yo, can I tell you something?
You heard Snoop just put out what he put out. He said he got a check for 1 billion streams, and he got a $45,000 check.
It didn't come up to 45,000.
It didn't even come up.
It didn't even come up to that. So that is like that's just telling you alone that people need to really get on what they need to get on.
The digital age has devalued the monetization
Yes.
of great hip hop music. Overall. And that no one is exempt from that. No one is exempt from that. And,
Yeah, you're
it
right.
takes a super huge rollout, you know, and high demand like the Drakes and the Nickies for you to really do numbers first week.
Yeah.
So here's a question about that. What do you think about what I noticed that some independent artists and different artists are going with this paywall thing, where they put their music behind a paywall or something where you can't get it? What do you think of that whole business?
When you say paywall, are you talking about like direct to consumer, like a website?
Yeah.
You know what's funny? I feel like if you do what I call ancillary releases, like physical copies, not just digital, like vinyl, limited cassette, some merch, you'll monetize your product way more.
Okay.
Absolutely. You know, I know AZ was doing direct to consumer at one point before he got with the distributor he's using now that I introduced to him. Actually, that's a whole nother conversation. He was doing direct to consumer, quiet money direct. If you notice, with his independent releases, he was putting out music and physical product. He's probably making more money off his music then than going back to just streaming. But I feel like he was playing the game to compete in the market with other artists that are putting out streaming product. He just needed to find the right home to put it out and get better at the machine of rolling his music out.
Yeah. Imagine if Drake said that, yo, I'm putting my album for download only or for OVO website for
$10,
$10 a download or something like that.
Matter of fact, I think Taylor Swift did a vinyl version of her latest album. I think FX told me, he said she did crazy numbers.
She did CDs and she actually did units. But I'm gonna say this though. When y'all I hear people say independent, and me and BP, we kind of bump heads in this. There haven't been independent to me since the beginning of Cash Money, the beginning of
you talking grassroots.
Yeah, because I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this, right? So when we talk about the mixtapes, the one thing about a mixtape, it always follow what a person been driving. When it was cassette, right? Cassette players. When it's CD,
I was silent in the car, baby.
CD player. Every car.
Flash drive, stream,
Flash drive. So my thing is like this. I know in New York City, it's over 400 bodegas, right? All of them, if you have a good relationship, they will sell your music, just like how they used to sell our mix. Bag of chips, quarter water, Lucy's, music, all in the same black bag. Chopped cheese, whatever you want. Now they got this nasty chopped salmon. I don't know what's going on there. So my whole thing is like this. Get a box, 20. Aki, here, put this in there. Come on, let's do the split. And you do that everywhere you go. You can make your money.
Pay attention to FX. FX was doing something else too besides DJing. yo. So hold on. So let's have this discussion. All right. So he told us his impression of independent. Bpzy, you tell us what's your impression of independent.
I'm glad you asked me that because I was about to say that. I feel like independent to me is when you're dealing with a distribution partner and you're using your own resources, whatever they are, whether you as one individual or a small team of individuals are using your resources to market that product, whether it's social media, digital marketing, streaming, playlisting, servicing your videos yourself. If you don't have a machine, and when I say machine, I'm talking about a major label machine, like the Def Jams, the Universals, the Warners, the Interscopes. with a staff of people working your music, you are independent.
Okay.
Period.
Now I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this. So your Apple, your Spotify, your Pandora, all your streaming services.
Mm-hmm.
Do y'all know who damn near runs those streaming services?
No.
The majors. So it's like soon you get in bed with like your tune calls and all those streaming platforms.
Mm-hmm.
You still are linked to the major.
To the major.
Yeah. The only thing that's different is
Label services.
Yeah, the admin. You know? So they just say you had like I don't know, like 20,000 a blow. You could take some of that money for Spotify services, you know? Because money talks. Let me do this. Let me do A B C D E F G, and they're gonna continue with the services.
Yeah,
I agree with that, but my argument is that there are people who are putting out music that don't have money.
Gotcha.
At all.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
But it also shows once they put them on the streaming services, it reflects with the number. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you working with the label, but it depends on if you spending the marketing dollars for your project, right? You may want ads. They got services where, well, how many ads you want to pop up? And this is like Pandora. So every single time it plays a song, there's an ad pop up or something like that, right? So that's how that streaming services is making their money for playing your music. You get a % off of that, which is ran by either Sony, Universal.
Right. They still getting
Yeah.
So I like what I hear is like the difference in terms of direct to consumer. Like that's what I said. I think you think of like grassroots direct to consumer, like hand to hand type thing. Which I mean, your monetary split would be substantially more.
Yeah.
But then the other part of it is also the reach, right?
Yes.
So we saying 400 bodegas. And it depends on what your fan base is. Like I said earlier, if you had a Drake and Drake put his music behind a paywall, he already has that established fan base that people are gonna clam for. But if you don't have that fan base, you casting sort of like that wide net, saying, I'm gonna put that wide net out there
from the inception.
See what I bring back in. Like so, if an artist could ever get to the point of developing. And I tell this to like artists that that we know sometimes. I'm like, yo, instead of thinking major and working with like these big labels, if you have 1,000, think about if you have 1,000 diehard fans that is gonna go out and buy whatever it is you selling, your shirt, your album, whatever it is you selling, that they'll actually be consumers of it and purchase it.
Right.
Something like that you put behind a paywall and you say I'm charging $5, $10 or whatever it is. I think that you could actually make a case that that's better to do than saying like I'm gonna take pennies on a penny for a percentage of a penny for a stream. But I don't know if everybody already has that fan base built in, and I think that that's the part that a lot of people are missing probably from labels, because labels would actually develop talent and help people build the fan base and stuff like that.
Like
so that's where it's a little dicey and tricky.
Right. Well, like when you mentioned Drake built his audience being marketed by a major.
Yeah.
To be able to walk away tomorrow and do the direct to consumer that you just mentioned. Same thing with Nicki. Same thing with Jay-Z. Same thing with Nas. The reason why AZ survives to this day is because he did have a machine behind him early in his career.
Yeah.
Along with the actual talent that people still follow and respect. 50 Cent. He had a machine to push him on a certain level, but he was building an audience independently before that.
Yeah.
But he got bigger once he had a machine behind him. So now he can go back to just saying, you know what, I'm a musician and I'm also acting and producing film and television content. I'm going to put out some music direct to consumer. He can make some money. He can do that. But I'm talking about from the inception, when you're a new artist with amazing talent and no machine and no money, limited resources, you just putting it into DSPs. Good luck.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna say this. A good example of what I was talking about. Tech 9.
Mhm.
Tech 9, all that DSPs and all that, what he been doing is strictly hand to hand. Hand to hand. He prints it like he still goes the same route. And he's making millions. Russ is even now doing that.
Russ, yep, I agree with Russ.
He's doing that. Like I keep saying, it's 50 states. Every state has a mama pop store that's selling Subway sandwiches. You're hungry. Yo, let me get a hero. Every state got a spot where they selling hero. Quarter water.
I will agree with him on
Bag
that.
of chips.
It is a harder road travel, but it's not impossible because in fairness to Russ, who he just mentioned, Russ put out consistently a lot of music that we don't even know about to build the audience that he has today.
Yeah. Well,
Records and albums consistently for years.
And you really don't need the DSPs.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like, you think in this era that we in, it's a digital era, right? So you start looking at social media. Like, a person can create a buzz, and by creating that buzz, that could help you with the hand-to-hand element of it. But I feel like it's an evolution to get to the point where, you know, maybe you have the fan base and you have the belief also, because they're established artists. Like, I remember one time listening to an interview with Jadakiss was talking about he'd rather stay on the major. You know, and he ain't recouping. Well, maybe now because the budgets are considerably smaller, but you're not recouping. You get an advance. You don't have to do all the self promotion and marketing and stuff like that. You just got to show up, and you got the machine behind you. You know, where some people that'd be like, yo, I'll forget the advance. I'll put up my own money, and then I'll get, you know, a quick flip. I think Jim Jones is an example of that. That Jim Jones,
opposite of Jada on that.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say this. Yeah. Say this. Jada is in a position now. And Jada always had that position. Like, his family sells coffee.
Yeah.
Think about this.
Marketable, bro.
Right?
But do he want to do the work associated with selling?
See, a bag of coffee, bag of music.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's just say his father, and you have like a whole pallet of coffee beans, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he already has a distribution network. You turn those places where he's selling the coffee at, right? Those cafes, those supermarkets, because we all know out of town supermarkets is different than New York supermarket.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right?
They become like superstores.
Yeah. So it's easy to get your product and you know sell your music.
I think you gotta have that name first, like they're saying though, because nobody, like even the machine is not gonna invest in you if they don't already know you. Like, it's very hard to get these guys to pick somebody up.
You know what? I'm gonna blow your mind with this, because I don't think, like, we talking around a lot of this in terms of, like, we talking product, but you know what, actually the main shift has to happen. What? The artist mindset has to shift around it. Yeah. That's what's actually beginning. There's still artists that's probably out here trying to get a record deal.
Yeah.
You know, so once shift, then you'll be able to do that, because FX, what you're talking about is innovation. You're talking about being innovative and forward thinking. There's a lot of dudes that this is the way that I've seen it done. Somewhere, somebody, let's be real, somebody in America probably still sending a demo to a record label. That no, but it is what it is. Like, some people's mind hasn't evolved around it.
A lot of these guys don't even care anymore about the record sales, because you figure, right? Let's say even, you know, talking about somebody like AZ release that he put out his new thing. He may do whatever X amount of units, but here's the thing. The amount of shows and money he's going to get because he's revitalized his name to even perform new stuff or old stuff, whatever he wants to perform, one of those shows might cover everything that he put into it.
Yo,
That's exactly what these artists think because they're so entitled by being marketed by major labels. They treat new releases like an advertisement.
Yeah,
They're not thinking about the numbers on the back end. They're thinking about the ramifications of being heard and seen again to
and
do
yes,
other
no
things.
money.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yo.
see,
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say this though: new artists, you get a new artist off the street, like they just say, like a Doug B. I'm just saying, for example, or a Ice Spice.
Mm-hmm.
Can't expect like what y'all was saying, far as marketing. They treating it as A, B, and C. The problem what's going on is you got younger A&Rs. See, the A&Rs, the A&R person, all they looking at is analytics.
Facts.
They looking at, okay, what's their social media.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's not really the artist, because the artist really, coming from in college one day or whatever they was doing last week. Now this week they got a song on the radio. Like, what do they know? They don't know that.
Yeah.
So it's the person that's working their project. So, and I look at the person that's working their project, they a little bit younger than everybody that's in, that's in the boxes right now.
Yeah.
And the first thing they looking at is what's their analytics.
Yeah, I didn't even think that A&Rs exist at this point. I just thought that record labels was looking at how many followers you got on social media, and that's it.
It's just that.
TikTok, yeah.
It's stats.
Yeah, you got young A&Rs that, because they had to know where to get the talent from anyway. So there's somebody that's a little bit young that's
IG. Go on IG. That's where you get your talent from. Yo, while we talking about distribution, just a quick question for you. How'd you guys select Maverick Global as your distributor?
Shaq, get out my head, Shaq. Get out my damn head.
Yeah, what made y'all decide to make that decision?
Well, initially, my company XMG as a music producer, executive producer, is still in partnership with 300 distribution arm Sparta.
Okay.
However, specifically for Untouchable DJs, I conferred with MrFx to create a different platform just to put out Untouchable DJs content, starting with executive decision. So initially, we were doing a project with in association with a Bridging the Gap conference owned by Manny Ayala in Atlanta recently, and we treated this album as a promotional tool to support independent artists that were either performing at the conference or attending the conference. And that's how it kind of incepted. And I was introduced by one of the co-owning partners of Maverick Global Distribution around the time that we were planning to be a contributing part of the conference. However, once we spoke with the owner partners of the distribution platform, they were basically like, look, we're going to support your marketing on this, with our own network of resources in terms of media support. And another thing that made Maverick Global Distribution interesting to me was that they allow people who have accounts there that are distributing their music, when they refer other clients to use the platform, they can work out a percentage, a referral percentage from the distributor to monetize the music that they distribute. So let's just say No Ideas Original Podcast decided to release another album project like the one y'all put out, and y'all switched over to Maverick Global Distribution through my referral. I would provide a referral code once you set up your account, where Maverick Distribution would give me a percentage separate from what you make. It will come from their side, not your side.
Nice.
And they will pay me a percentage of their earnings from the distribution for referring it. So
that's genius.
that itself is an incentive.
Yeah, they'll grow too. They'll be able to get more people to actually. Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah,
I like
so that becomes an incentive to use their platform. They're in all DSPs. The staff is very, very great with admin. If you have any technical issues, you can get people on the phone. Some of these distributors you go through hell and high water just trying to make any edit changes if you have text errors or
Shout out to Distro Kid.
missing credits on a song or whatever, you know what I mean? So yeah, so far so good. I cannot complain. And their back office is very easy to use. It's very user friendly when it comes to looking at your stats, looking at your numbers, looking at what your analytics of what monetizing. And I think within the 90-day period, you'll actually start to pay payouts accordingly.
Okay. FX, what are your thoughts about that?
My whole thing. Well, I see how it goes, man. Like when it comes to BPs, you already know, man. Like one thing I do trust, 1099. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know for a fact I'm going to make some money.
FX has always been about physical monetization.
I'm just picturing FX pulling up on somebody like, I got executive decisions. What's up? In a back alley. You need that.
Can I tell you
executive decision?
Going back to the actual conference I referred to that we were going to in Atlanta, he had a plan to literally pull out physical USBs. Like,
that's a great idea.
Because my thing is like this, and how I was gonna do it, is they're all nice and packaged. This is a box of 20, so easy to make a deal with the store owner. I'll see you on the back end.
Mm-hmm.
Man,
how many bodegas you working on right now? How many bodegas you got lined up right now?
Let me tell you something.
FX low key to connect.
My old store list. Just to let you know. So, between me and Dirty Harry, we had a national Mama Pops list.
Yeah, they did.
That's how the mixtapes. That's how the mixtapes was able. That's how the DJs was able to get those foreign cards and things like that, because you gotta have a national store list. You gotta have what store across the nation that's gonna do A, B, and C. Right. In New York, you had Red Apple Distribution. That was over there in the Bronx. That used to, dupe up CDs, and they used to do it for you, do the send out. So.
Yeah.
Every music, if you think about it like this, right? So you look in the back of any magazine, right? And you see those ads of you see the strip clubs, and spirit companies and things like that. There's a book where you give you all the mom and pop around on the stores, and you just call. Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
And with that said, I will make an announcement that we will be doing a limited edition vinyl version that we're in negotiations with one or two vinyl distributors of specific target cuts from Executive Decision. And every other release we do, we're gonna have ancillary product separate for the digital versions of our releases. Because it's important, respecting DJ culture, we want to have some vinyl circulating internationally,
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yo, Bpzy, you being the Robert Johnson. Yeah, you talking Robert Johnson moves over there, buddy. Bpzy,
I'm trying, man.
Got an arm connected to another arm, connected to a leg.
I'm trying, man.
Yo, you know what's dope about that because sometimes you see people that are creatives don't evolve to the business element. They don't evolve to businessmen. They just stay in creative mode or creator mode. So it's good to see that you brothers is actually forward thinking in that sense. So all right, we got to figure out the actual business element of it too.
Yeah, I mean, these are things that me and MrFx talk about all the time.
Okay.
We wear both hats. A lot of times, the creative hat, and then we wear the business hat.
Yeah. I think a lot of times when I be saying certain ideas and things like that, I think it sound crazy, but I think Bpzy be like, yo, you know what?
That shit can work. That shit might work.
It just might, yeah. But on the same token, because we both competitive in spirit.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a little bit like one up. You know what I'm saying? Okay, you know.
Yo, you know what, yo? Nah, you gotta figure out in this day and age like how to fully monetize, you know, everything that you're doing. So what you saying, like I said, I'm listening to. I'm like, yeah, I could definitely see. I see your vision and I see where you're going with it and what you wanna do with it. Definitely.
So
Yeah, because over the years, I have been lucky enough to build relationships with vinyl curated companies and distributors like that do things in Europe and Japan, Canada.
nice.
So I want to capitalize on that and understanding my brand as a producer, understanding my career history and the core fan base that I have and what I do, tied in with what me and MrFx do collectively as Untouchable DJs, and be able to create products that are not just one platform, you know. So the DSPs was the starter. And I felt like it was needed because as Untouchable DJs, we didn't have retail history in DSPs. Now we do. You can literally type in Untouchables DJs in any DSP, and there we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what we do going forward is up to us.
Right.
And what's so dope about it is you would never like you think about the project and basically how the project was being mixed and how, you know, with the cuts and all that and me bringing it back. You haven't really heard that on DSPs.
No, sir.
No.
Yo,
The fact that we was able to get away with that
Yep.
and wait. Oh man.
That was the raw part of listening to that joint. I was like, hold on, is he mixing right?
Yo,
It
I
was
don't know.
real mixing, and it was done in one take.
Yeah.
Yo, I don't know if Rob and Yada, I don't know if y'all remember, but remember when we was doing our joint, I was like, yo, I want this to play disc at once. That was my original vision. I want to be play straight through disc at once, and I just it is what it is.
Yeah, we learning.
What we did was MrFx actually did the DJing of the entire playlist in one take. He took all the songs that we decided to put on the track listing, put them in an order, played them live. We recorded it. Then once we bounced the recorded audio file, we edited it down towards the track listing per song. But the actual live aspect was never lost.
Right. And that was
so when you go from track 1 to track 10, you know, the artist, the song will come based on the artist and the transition of the song by the next artist.
Yeah,
but
so
the DJ aspect continued as the song plays.
Nice.
Nice. We just felt that was important, man. That was important because one of the things we try to do with the DJ brand is also respecting the artists. We want to exemplify the art of DJing. We don't want to just play the records and talk over it like everybody else.
Nice.
Yo, over the summer, man, you was on stage, did a set with Moni. How was that, bro?
You know it's No Ideas Original.